everybody, and thank you for joining this get-together and to go on a virtual visit with La Bella Italia. But before starting, I would like to know if everybody's there, and I hope everybody is enthusiastic about this trip. I have with me two of my partners, my two daughters, Antoinette and Gabriella, and they will help me. Antoinette, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
And now that we are all set, I hope so we can fasten your seat belt and let's start.
Should we do a sound check? Can everyone hear you?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Bene. Very
And
bad.
just a quick note, if you have a question, type it in the chat at the bottom of your screen. And we are going to do a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So put your full screen on so you can see the beautiful PowerPoint, and let's go virtually travel to Italy. Mama, take it away.
Okay. As you can see from this first slide, we have the best of Northern Italy, the Lake region. We go through all these towns: Bergamo Alta, Venezia, Verona, Lake Garda, Sirmione, Parma, Lake Como, Bellagio, and Milano. Departure is June 1st, and we will be there for 7 nights till June the 8th. And then we will leave from the north to go for the second leg of our trip in Puglia, which is defined by many as the New Tuscany. We arrive in Bari and we go through these other towns: Polignano a Mare, Alberobello, Locorotondo, Stuni, Matera, Altamura, Lecce, and Martina Franca. And it's going to be another 7 nights there, from June 9th to the 16th. Actually, the 16th we leave to go to Rome and then back to the United States. Next, please. And here is a little bit of a class that I like to give, especially for those who perhaps it's the first time they go in this area. The Lake region is about 3 regions: Lombardia, Veneto, and Emilia-Romagna, and we will touch all 3 of the regions. A region is like a state. So we go now into the next. We arrive actually with a part. We arrive in Milano Malpensa, and from there we get our bus that will take us to Bergamo, and we will stay at the Hotel Excelsior in San Marco. And here is some views of the hotel. It's a very nice hotel. We stayed already other times, and they're very, in fact, we were already booked in 2020 when we canceled. We were booked, and the guy, when I called to make a tentative reservation, he said, "Oh, I'm so glad to hear you, Giuseppina. Yes, we have a room for you." In fact, he gave me right away a reservation. So we are staying there. The next day we go to Bergamo Alta, which is a very beautiful section. Why it's called Alta? Alta is like, you know, saying Cleveland Heights. It's because of the elevation that is so high that you need to go either by bus and cars, or you can go by funicular. And it's so much fun to take the funicular and have a chance to sing Funiculi Funicula and go up into Bergamo Alta. This town is very particular. Next, from here, from this view, you can see Bergamo down, and this is Alta. But it's a very interesting because it was built during the Middle Ages. In fact, in the next slide, we should be seeing all the walls and all around the town. This town is famous too because there is a very famous composer that was born. In fact, is there now, buried in the church, in the cathedral of Bergamo Alta, is Gaetano Donizetti, and the beautiful area all around. It's like a Renaissance type of architecture. Next, you will see, next slide, the Colleoni Chapel. Bartolomeo Colleoni, which you can see from the dates 1472, 1476, he was the first one to use artillery in battle, and he died 1 year before the chapel was completed. He wanted a chapel next to the big church. In fact, you can see, and it's a jewel of architecture and of refined marble and decorations. Something that you were not expecting, in a small town like Bergamo Alta. And the richness of this area, of these towns, and of the places that we are going to go is that they're not known so much, because people always go for the big cities, the Firenze, always Florence. But there are some jewel towns that they are to be discovered. And my trips are to do exactly that. Next. So on June 4th, then we will go to Venice, and we will go by bus. I did go by train other times. At least that's my intention, unless there is some type of a strike or something. So I'm planning to go by motor coach, and we will spend that day. We go through by Vaporetto once we leave the bus, and the Canal Grande is like the main view, the main way of Venice. Here we see the Rialto Bridge in the back, and the Canal Grande with some gondole. Usually they don't go so much because it's like a highway, the Canal Grande. There are lots of boats and speedy boats, and sometimes you see these construction boats that carry construction material, and it's very busy. So the main center of Florence, of Venice, is the Piazza San Marco. It's a cathedral that is defined the Church of Gold for the richness of the basilica, and the bell tower too is very famous. I tell you, I had lots of information, but I don't think I have a time to read all of them. But actually, there was something very, the next to San Marco, the Doge Palace that we see, the Doge Palace there, and it's connecting with the prison, and the Bridge of Sighs that is very known. Here on the left, you will see the Bridge of Sighs. Why? It's because before going to die, this was the last chance they had to see. They had the opportunity to see through the windows, and so they were giving another sigh there. We are going to have a 2 hours tour with a local guide. of Venice, and she will take us and explain everything that we have to know about the history of these buildings too. And after that, we will give some time, free time to go for your own little shopping, or maybe get a gondola ride and enjoy this way Venice. And then we have to experience too an area that is not known so much by tourists. And the original ghetto, as I was explaining other times, the word ghetto is an Italian word, and it was originally used in Venice to describe the area where Jews were living. Now, why was called the ghetto? Because there was a factory there, and there was a jetto. Jetto is where the water and all the stuff from the factory was going into the canal, and it was a jetto. A jetto is when some type of exit from any place goes into a canal is a jetto. But through the years, the word was pronounced in a different way, and so they called ghetto. A ghetto is just, as we know, a grouping of people that live together. And since the Jewish people, they wanted to stay together for religious other reason, they build up. And this is the only place where you see construction this way. And this is the new ghetto, okay? And they have temples and kosher foods and stores for themselves all over, but especially in this area. Next. Then we go to Verona, to this town in always by bus, and we will spend the part of the time in Verona in the morning, and we are going to see this lovely area where the arena is, and these are all views. There is a river here. The river is River Adige. This is a very rich area, not only of water, because the water comes from the Alps. Don't forget that we are at the very top of Italy, where we have the chain of mountains. They are defined as the crown of Italy, the Alps. And then we have all these rivers, a very rich area. In fact, that's why they have lots of rice production, because with all these rivers, they can actually water all the fields they want to. And Verona is beautiful, and the arena, they should be in the next slide. The arena is still today used. It is an enormous, spectacular Roman amphitheater, crumbling out only on the outside, but still functioning today. Crumbling because there was an earthquake in 1117 was this earthquake. But during spring and summer, they have beautiful performances, opera and concerts, and it's very famous. And so if you happen to be there, please buy a ticket to go. Usually by June they're finished. They start in August, some of the concerts, more popular concerts. But this is really a building to see. It is beautiful. So we spent the first the part in Verona. We will see another famous area is the Juliet's balcony. This is more famous because of Juliet and Romeo. There is a statue here in bronze that's almost gone, because everybody goes there, likes to touch the Juliet, but this is supposed to be the very famous balcony. Okay, next. From here we will leave and we go to Lake Garda. This is another of the beautiful lakes. Garda is really fantastic because it has a peninsula going into the lake, and it's the town of Sirmione. Sirmione is most popular for the sights that you can see the Lake Garda, and many thousands of visitors every year. I remember that I went on my honeymoon, and we got the first ticket because we parked the car. We couldn't find any parking, and once we were back in my hometown, we found a nice ticket. Anyway, so we will spend the afternoon here, and then we get back to see. This is what it extends into the lake Sirmione. At the south, the town of Sirmione is dominated by a Rocca Scaligera. Scaligera was the family of this area. It's a fortress with a harbor view. And the nearby, well, it's called the nearby, but there is a lot of walking. If somebody wants to, there are the Grotte di Catullo. It's an archaeological site, which includes a Roman villa, but it's just very, very little of the Roman villa is left there. Okay, so from then we go on June 6th, we go to Parma, and Parma is very, very famous, and we will do some visiting of food. The 3 P's of Parma, they are very famous P's, prosciutto, back to 1063, and 1254 for the Parmigiano, while most recent is the pasta factory from Barilla in 1878. As you can see, this is nothing new for the town, but because of the monks and the priests of the area of the period, mostly monks, they are the ones that actually experimented all this, starting from the Middle Ages until the modern age, and they perfected because they had to know how to save. That those times they did not have a refrigerator, and so they have to try to work out either the milk with the cheese and the conservation of the prosciutto, of the pork meat that could stay for the entire year and beyond that. And pasta, this in 1878, the first factory, but now we know it's all over. And we have another one here too in the United States. Now we have the factory, and all over. Okay, so we will have a chance to go and see how the process of the Parmigiano, the milk, how they work out the different phases of the Parmigiano making. As for the prosciutto, the same, and there are very people that they do this all the time. They will explain us all the process, and then we will have a beautiful lunch here, more of a Italian pranzo, because it's going to be a very rich day for us. So the morning we have to go very easy on the breakfast if we want to enjoy so much this unique food. Next. But Parma is not only gastronomy. but there are castles, opera houses, and monuments to see. So we will stroll in the roads of Parma and try to absorb what is the richness of this town. There is a famous, I think it's in this next, the Teatro Reggio di Parma. It's a famous 19th century opera house and an opera company in Parma. The theater was originally known as the Teatro Ducale. The construction was begun in 1821 by the Marie-Louise, Duchess of Parma, and it was inaugurated in 1829 with Vincenzo Bellini Zaira, and it's very famous for all the Giuseppe Verdi's operas were all performed here. So the inside is fantastic. If we have a chance to go and see, it's something really unique for the town and for the richness of this art, the opera. Next. Okay. Let me see here where we are. See, what we see here is what it's defined La Dolce Vita, which is in a certain way seen here in this country too, as we see in these last years. Since I came here, every year I see more and more of people trying to get out and enjoy the outdoor, and the Italian style of enjoying food and time together is in Cleveland too, with all this new concept, not going in. There was one thing that really bothered me when I first came, and it was every time that my husband would take me to restaurants, and it was all dark inside, you know, we could hardly see your food. And I said, why don't they open the windows and let the natural light come in? I said, what do they have to see outside? Nothing. But that's why the concept now of all these new shopping areas where they have recreated some type of a village spaces, you know, where people can enjoy staying outside and eating, or inside and seeing outside too. So it's something of La Dolce Vita that came into life here in Cleveland too. Next. Okay, we go June 7th, Bellagio and Lake Como. As you can see, Lake Como is an upside Y. And at the very middle of the Y, you have Bellagio. And this is the beauty and nature enhanced by the genius of man made this place very unique. Yes, it's the beauty of the countryside. You see the Alps, the mountains. This was done in springtime, but you can see the mountain all white, full of snow. And then you see palm trees and oleanders and olive trees close to the lake. Why? Because they're protected by the mountains. And so here is just the beauty to be looking at. And I'm planning to have a lunch on the lake. We will leave from Bellagio with a private boat to take us to this restaurant and have a lunch on Lake Como, and then have a tour around the lake and seeing the beautiful villas. They are all around the lake. And as I mentioned earlier, to another get together, I said, well, maybe we can have a chance to knock at at the famous actor. What's his name?
George Clooney.
George Clooney, and and see if he's there. Maybe we'll say we are Americans. So we would like to have a coffee with you. Anyway, just playing around here. Okay, so we go back and we go on June 8th. We go to Milano. And it's a very short ride to Milan, and we arrive. And we will have here the possibility to go in different ways. We go to Via Monte Napoleone, the main high-end fashion street of Milan, and Santa Maria delle Grazie is where there is the Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. But there is one other thing that I really would like to show you, and we will see in the next slides. Not this one. This is very unique too, and it's unique because it joined Cleveland and Milan together by having pieces of sculptures done by the same artist. The sculpture in two parts by Claes Oldenburg, Swedish, and his wife Kusi van Bruggen, a Dutch. These are the artists that did our stamp, the free stamp that is in Cleveland, is done by this artist. This is located in Piazza Cadorna, and it was inaugurated in 2000. And this stamp, this that you can see here is the needle, the thread, the knot to represent, fashion. So the sewing and the art that is the fashion industry. You can see here the needle, the thread that goes through and it goes down and then comes up with the knot. The knot is very unique. I don't know what the free stamp is standing for in Cleveland as free for from what? I don't know that, but anyway. This artist is now 92 years old. He's still living in America, and he's 92 years old. Then we will go to Piazza Duomo, and here this is very unique Gothic architecture. It's the third largest church in the world. It can house 40,000 people. And the construction started in 1386 in Gothic style. And it was, the final details were completed in 1965. And since there were all these years that there was always working going on, they called this as La Fabbrica. It's a factory. In other words, it never ended. If it started in 1386 and ended in 1965, and they're still working, because by the time they finish fixing one thing, they have to go and fix another thing. What is very important to notice is 135 spires and 3,400 statues. And in 1774, they put the Madonnina, the little Madonna, but it's not little. It's little because it's so far high that everybody's called the Madonnina. The suffix Nina means little, the little Madonna seen from down below. And that's the symbol of the city. And they really enjoy this piece of art, very unique. On the left, as you can see, is the Galleria. If you can give us the entrance to the Galleria. And here is the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II, Italy's oldest active, the first shopping mall and a major landmark of Milan. Actually, the shopping mall. This gave idea to all the shopping malls that were done since then. It opened in 1877. These were all buildings. They were standing on their own when this architect, Giuseppe Mengoni, started the building and connecting with the beautiful glass And unfortunately, he never saw the opening because he fell from while he was inspecting, and 2 days before they inaugurated this beautiful galleria. It gave people the possibility to go from store to store without getting wet and during the winter, and it was pleasant just to sit in the bars and see what the Italian do the best, sit and watching the people passing by. And in the next, it will show a little bit of the mosaic on the floor. The mosaic floor are beautiful, fantastic. You see, those were all different buildings. Unfortunately, this ceiling with these windows are not the original because they got broken during the war by a bomb. Something fell, and they had to rebuild again. Okay, next. Piazza della Scala. As you come out of the Galleria, on the other side you have the Opera House, the very famous Piazza alla Scala, the Opera House that was built in 1363, but it was originally a church. And so it is very famous for acoustic. That means that who built that church knew all about acoustic because they did not have a microphone. So they wanted everybody to be able to hear the priest that was talking. So it was a very good thing that it was transformed into an opera house. Okay. Via Monte Napoleone is one of the main streets of what we call the fashion quadrangle. And there are different streets. In fact, there is Via della Spiga, Via Sant'Andrea, Via Manzoni, and Corso Venezia. These are all the very famous fashion designers' shops. Okay. And this is something that I told you that I would like you to actually see. This Church of San Satiro. It was built in 1876, and the church was dedicated to Saint Satyrus, brother of Saint Ambrose, who was and stands in what they thought was the house, their home. Later, this church was dedicated to Mary, and so they call St. Mary staying with the Satyrus. Okay, but what is the surprise of this is the inside. Let's get the next here. Here we have, it's an architectural gem which was actually perfected by Bramante, this artist, demonstrating his art in giving the perspective of this Renaissance architecture. What you see is just an optical vision, because it's not it's just a painting. What you see there, it doesn't go all the way that far because it was a small church. So he did really a wonderful work of art in giving the perspective of this. I had other notes that I'm not looking because I cannot see and read at the same time here. All this, so we are. I think with this slide, is there another one after? Oh, yes, there is the Cenacolo, the Last Supper. And for this, we have to see what is going to be the time to go, because they don't let people go in so easily because of the only a small group of people can go at a time. And so I have to make a reservation in advance to see this, what was the room, the dining room of these nuns. In fact, if you look at the actual painting, you see that it's missing the down part because they just cut open to open a door right in the middle where Jesus is. I don't know. That's next. Okay. So we are now. Am I? No, no, no. I have. I think I left here on June 16. On no, June 9th. On June 9th, we are leaving to go to Bari, to Puglia, and we will stop in Bari. Bari is Puglia is a region and it's just the hill of the booth. If you can see, is the hill, and Bari is the main, the capital of the region. We arrive from Rome to Bari. It is important port and a university city on the Adriatic Sea, because of the Adriatic Sea. This is the city actually where I went to the university in Bari, and I spent about 5 years there. And it's the largest city, and it's very most important economic center of southern Italy, especially after Naples. After Naples, the port of Bari is important. We will, as a first, when we arrive there, will be like late morning. And since we are very close, we want to go and see the next, the Castel del Monte. Castel del Monte is one of the 12 castles that Frederick II built in Puglia. But this is a very different type of construction. It was built right in the Middle Ages. You see, 1240 to 1250. And it's still today a mystery. Why was this castle built? Was it built because I had some other information here. I don't know where it went. Here I have it. It's it was built in a very unique shape. Frederick II was called by his contemporary as Stupor Mundi, the wonder of the world. And why? Because he knew 7 languages. He was able to be the Holy Roman Emperor. And in fact, when he was in this castle, he was not to live there, but having, probably they think that he was having some astrological meetings. Astronomy was one of his favorite things to study, and besides languages, because he was speaking 7 languages. And so he was having a hunting season here too. He was very into different types of arts. Maybe it was so his hunting residence, or he had these astrological meetings, but it was for many sophisticated function that he was here. You see, the perfection was something very unique, and he did not have around, you know, that when in a castle you have the big moat all around. There was not, so it was not to stay, and there are no slides for protection. you know, usually the castle have all the slats where, you know, the guards check because the emperor is there, so they have to protect him. So it was not, it was just a studying type of castle. And so we will have a guide that will actually take us inside and do a little studying together and see if we can come up with some kind of a solution. Why was this? Because the study is still going on. They don't know exactly. Okay, so then we go to our hotel, which is in the town of Conversano. Conversano is a town very close to Polignano Mare, but this is a new hotel, was built, but then redone completely. And it's centrally located, so our trips here and there is not that far away. So 30 minutes, 20 minutes ride to reach all the different places where we want to go. This town here, these are some views of the town, typical medieval narrow streets and the beautiful town of Conversano. As you can see in all these pictures of this small town, they take lots of pride to keep very nice and neat. And there, probably we are going to be for that day the only group, but they are very proud to have people going and seeing these small towns. Next, please. We are going to, on the June 10th, then we go to the city of Bari, and we have the classical tour of the city, but mostly in this town of Bari, we have to go and see the what they call Kasbah of, in other words, the old Bari. Bari is a port, and it's very rich. It has about 2 big theaters. And I remember when I was there at the university, we were buying the very cheap tickets to go into these 2, Piccinini and Petruzzello. We were very much in love with opera. My friends and I, we were going. And Bari Vecchia, we have to go with a guide. If I tell you why we were going to Bari Vecchia, which is all around here, the church of San Nicola, we were going there because they were selling cigarettes for very little money, because it was contraband. So we were going there getting, you know, the cigarettes, but always going at the very entrance because we were afraid to go. We were going with other friends in groups. And so we go into this small area of Bari called Bari Vecchia, where the ladies work all day long. Oh, here there is another castle. Now there was another castle by Frederick II, but we are going to, well, this is the castle, and then let's go into the Bari Vecchia, where we can see the little roads here and there, and outside they have the ladies that work and make orecchiette, the Via della Pasta. It means the road of making a road, pasta making road, where they work from morning to night to make this fresh orecchiette. But the word orecchiette means little ears, and they sell and they make a living. All these ladies. It's very, very unique. And we will have a nice lunch there in a restaurant where mm, very close to Bari Vecchia. Mm. This is Polignano Mare, very unique. And I don't know if you ever heard about this town, but this is the elevation from the sea is a little bit higher. So there is very little beaches, very small. Our hotel actually has his own area of in case somebody wants to go. But Polignano Mare is a charming seaside town located near Bari in the Puglia region. Its name meaning Polignano et sea could not be more appropriate since the town rests atop of a limestone cliff that suspends its 65 feet directly above the Adriatic Sea. It's a very, very unique scene. And there is an area too on top of this limestone cliff where there are nice shops and we can walk around and then this is very famous too because in this town the very famous actor was born, no actor, the singer that sang, what did he sing?
Nel blu dipinto di blu.
Nel blu dipinto di blu, and I was going to say it's just because looking at this blue of the sea, that's how he came up with this song, Nel blu dipinto di blu, a sky and sea. So there is it's a beautiful beautiful scene all over. Next. And then we go on June 11th, Alberobello and Locorotondo. These are two towns very famous for the trulli. And these are white cone roofed houses. The trulli have been designated by UNESCO World Heritage since 1996. And there are about 1,000 trulli. They are built with their native stones. And this is all stones that they find on the earth and they take it out. And the reason why they had all these stones, because they wanted to cultivate the land. In order to cultivate, they had to take the stones out. So they used these stones to make their own dwellings, either homes or and put all the walls all around their homes. And so, and this is the characteristic of this is because they created this dry walls construction. So they could be dismantled when inspectors were in the areas. So when the inspectors were coming for taxes, they were dismantling, they were taking it down. They said, well, they did not have any home, so therefore they could not, they did not pay any taxes. So Alberobello is famous for this. On top, as you can see on the cones, there are some drawings. Some are pagans and some are Christians. Every home has their own symbol. And over here too, it's all whitewashed, a beautiful, beautiful area. What you could see of this is if you knew from far away if the home was a rich, if the family was a rich family, had 3, 4, 5 cones, because each cone is a one room. Therefore, if they were only one, these were poor people. They were all living together in one room. Or if they had 4 and 5, there was a rich family. And on top, between the cones, because I lived there, so I know I went with the families, they lived there. They had places where they were doing all their drying the vegetables. For example, dry tomatoes. dry eggplants, dry zucchini, figs, doing all that. And so we have a nice tour here in Alberobello, and then and there are lots of shops. They're all mostly all shops here of unique things that they make there. And then this is another town very famous for their the name and the location. It's Loco Rotondo, means a round place. And if you see, it goes around and around and around, all the streets all around. And it's listed as one of the most beautiful villages in Italy. On this day, we are going to have lunch at a very famous masseria, Masseria Aprile. These are some of the streets in Loco Rotondo, but the Masseria Aprile is coming after this. If you go next to, these are all towns. The Masseria Aprile. This is of the family it's owned from the same family since 1700. Yes, you can see there are lots of cones there, and then there are other buildings that they built other times, in other times. But over here, you can see that the family had different places in the Masseria, including a family chapel. They even had a chapel. One cone is a family chapel. It was a rich family. And it's now agriturismo. People can stay there, sleep there, and stay there for days. We will go there for lunch. Okay. On June 12, we are going to go to Matera. Matera is, we are crossing into a different region now, Basilicata, and it's called, and it's defined as I Sassi di Matera, the stones of Matera. Why? Because this was all carved. It's known for its Sassi district, a vast hillside complex of all these dwellings dating back thousands of years. In order to understand the city of Matera, which was defined as the shame of Italy, we need to know a little about Carlo Levi. Carlo Levi was an activist, an artist, a doctor, a writer from Torino, up in the north, in Piedmont. It's a region next to Lombardy. And he was actually sent to this area. He was a painter too. He was, since he was anti-fascist, he was sent to a town very close to Matera, Aliano, a very small village in Basilicata. While he was there, he could experience firsthand the way all this population lived and died. The caves were unsanitary places, and he described everything in his book. Christ stopped Eboli. Cristo si è fermato a Eboli. Eboli was a town very on the coast, on the Mediterranean coast. He published this book in 1945, and it was a memoir of his life there in Basilicata, in this town. And after all this was published, after all his book was published, the Italian said, no more this. The government ordered to evacuate the entire town of Matera because it was not sanitary to live. But this town, after many years, became now a fashionable place to go to. And thanks to the filmmaking, in fact, the Passion of the Christ and the Nativity that Mel Gibson made there, it got the publicity. And now, if you want to go and buy as expensive you want to spend, for a cave, now they are all very different the way they were years ago. These are all carved cities, dwellings, town. You have a door, and the roof is the street above you. There is a street above you, and so it's all on a hillside. It's very interesting to see and how they were able to pull this. In 2020 was defined as the city of Europe, the best city in Europe. We are going to spend a morning and then have a lunch in one restaurant called Terrazzino. Terrazza is overlooking the entire hillside of Matera. Okay, next. Then you cannot go there without going to a town, Altamura. Altamura is famous for its bread, and so here we are going to have a test. Besides looking, touring the town, see and taste of the bread. There is one bakery in New York. They're making this bread from Altamura, the same making. I happened to taste, well, they had one event in Washington, D.C., and it's coming very close to that. Okay, next. One other town that we want to see in this area is Ostuni. It's called the White City, and rightly so. This too is all surrounded and going up on top, beautiful scenes. These towns are a jewel. It's not even possible to see any paper or any dirt around, because they feel, they have to keep their place nice and neat. So Ostuni is the White City, and then very close to this town, there is a masseria that we are going to go for a dinner. After we spend here lunch and time to spend on your own. And then we go to this masseria. This is another beautiful scene. The Masseria Salinola, which one, it was an old salt warehouse. This was when they were keeping the salt. It was a government-owned place. Now it's a lovely place, a place of beauty. And we are going to have a cooking class here, and to learn how to make the orecchiette or strascinati. And we are going to have then a nice dinner here, the same. Originally, it was fortified farmhouse, as the masseria had to be all surrounded by walls. This, and I don't know if I have a picture here. No, it's not a picture, but there is no picture. But they had to be surrounded by walls, because many times people and pirates were landed on the coast and attacking the farms. They were coming to steal all the food. So they had all these stones all around these farmhouses. And the walls were made out of all those stones that they take out of the fields. And sometimes they even capture people who were unable to defend themselves. So we are finished with this. I hope to have a show. One time I had this is a folk group they came to this masseria and did a beautiful performance for me, and I hope I can get them. I'm planning to have them. And so we are finished with this, and the last big city that we see in Puglia is the city of Lecce, which is defined as Florence of the South for the art, for the architecture, but mostly for the Baroque. The Baroque was the main style of this town. In the beautiful, and in small town, in small streets, at times you cannot even take a picture of these beautiful, because these beautiful churches, unless you have special lens, because it's so tight. But the city is very famous for another thing that is very special for this city, is the paper mache. No, it's not the paper mache that we all did in elementary school, but this is done with the art, and many times you don't even know what type of material is marble, is bronze, and instead it's paper mache. And it's because in the 17th century, there was so much request of these rich people. They wanted to make statues that they did not want to spend them much money. There was another problem too. They were too heavy to bring around during the procession. Why to carry all the marble or the bronze so heavy when paper mache was easy to carry in procession, and having, you know, very easy to store in places too. So this is an art that started, and it goes on, because it's still now is very large, even for major scenes. They do all those type beautiful pieces. I have actually an angel. Can you get that angel? I want to show. That's done by paper mache. I don't know if you can see the angel. It's very light. It's very light, and that's how this art is done. The last. Okay. The last, then we have a chance to try too, la puccia con le olive. It's a special bread. Now there are some even on the rice here makes bread with the olives. Probably they went all over Italy and found, you know, all these recipes, but it's called la puccia. It's a special bread. And next, we are in the last day of the trip, and we want to dedicate to a gourmet tour. We started going into the cheese factory in Salatino in Locorotondo, and here we will see the process of making cheese and having a taste too after that. And then we go, after this, we go to wine testing. I Pastini winery, this is a very old winery. In fact, the originally was in a Trullo, and the last one that we will see that day is a Frantoio, which is for the olive oil testing. It's Frantoio is the mill where they make oil, and this is a very old Frantoio. And we are having here a dinner and two. So we finish up with the good tasting oil and a gourmet tour. Okay, so I think we are finished now. The last is that we are going to leave from Conversano, June 6th. The departure, 16, and we go to the airport in Bari, and from Bari we take a flight to Rome, and the return flight is from Rome actually. So I will have more details on in itinerary when I'm finished. But I have here some information to give it to you. The inclusions of this trip. It's centrally located 4-star hotels, private motor coach, airport transfers, and 14 full breakfasts, 7 lunches with wine, and 10 dinners with wine. Then we have the tour of the winery and the tasting, the cheese tasting, the wireless headsets to hear your tour guide where applicable. Naturally, only in the big cities, and when you go in some churches, they require that. But if we are in small towns, we don't need that. And the baggage handling, and the professional and English speaking local guides in all through the 14 days that we are there. And these are the rates. Naturally, all this is based on 30 participants. A full trip, double occupancy, $49.95. Single occupancy, you have to add the $480 of the a single room. The north only double occupancy, $33.95. Single occupancy at $580. And the south only, the double occupancy, $31.95, and single occupancy at $580. As you can see, if a smaller group, it will get more expensive, because I would not get the same rate for hotel and for the bus if it's a small number of people. And the same thing for the boat. It's always done for a certain number, and this number is 30. On 30 participants, I have I quoted these prices.